Hello, and thanks for coming out. My name is Rich Sands. I'm with TV Guide Magazine, and I am thrilled to be the moderator today for Falling Skies at Comic-Con. So I'm going to introduce our panel, and we'll get right to it. To my immediate left, our fearless leader, Tom Mason, a.k.a. Noah Wiley. Going down the line, of course, it's Moonblood Good. Next up is Will Patton, giving me evil luck. To his left, Drew Roy. Next to him, appropriately, Sarah Carter. Next to him, Maxim Knight. Next to him, you may not recognize her without that platinum blonde hair, but that is Lexi herself, Scarlett Burns. Speaking of people you might not recognize right off the bat, that's Cochise, Junk Jones. And the fearless leader in the real world, showrunner, executive producer, David Icke. So the first question I just wanted to throw out to anyone in the cast who wanted to address this, but this has been an interesting and different season for you in that you all started in separate places and have worked your way back together. But you've been working, I don't know what the production schedule was like, but you were working in smaller groups, not with everyone that you used to work with. So what was that like, you know, different groupings and not being all together?
I actually loved it. It was the first time that we were so segregated. All of us, we had scenes with different actors that we normally don't get to work with, and it felt a little unfamiliar, but at the same time kind of refreshing, because you're usually always working with the same people. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then we got, there's the episode where we all get reunited. It felt so much better to just have some time apart. So I liked it a lot. You?
I loved seeing Anne Glass.
Yes.
I'll be this wild warrior. Great.
I get to shoot a gun.
I got a little time off for a change, which was really nice. I thought it was great. It was a great way to reboot the season. David Icke joined the show last year, and it was a very smart way of rebooting the show by taking all the characters and stripping them down from everything that we'd sort of defined them by, and to see what they'd be like if you took Tom Mason's family away, you took Anne Glass's daughter away, you took the second mass away from Colonel Weaver, you took the brothers and you separated them, you separated Hal and Maggie, and you made them all figure out how to be heroes within their own storyline, so that when they do come back together, we don't just have one leader, we've got some very qualified and well-rounded characters that have really gotten to come into their own.
Well, and David, that raises an interesting point. How do you balance, with such a relatively short season, the character development, which separating them really did advance, with keeping the action, which you have done, but what's been the biggest challenge to making that happen?
Well, like most of the greats, we just stole and robbed from other stories. We started our conversations with the basis of what I felt was so compelling about The Empire Strikes Back, in which we have these heroes that we've established in a certain milieu with reliance upon each other in certain ways. And I thought the structure of that film was ingenious in how it separated them and pulled them apart and forced the audience to ask the question, can they continue to behave heroically without each other, without their crutches? Structurally, it became quite a challenge because, of course, instead of telling one story where you have action and visual effects, we were trying to tell three, at least at first. And it's a testament to our great crew and production unit and visual effects unit in Vancouver that they were able to pull this off. But I think what lent itself to it was the fact that in Tom's world, we were in darkness. But in Lexi's world, it was light. It was almost like Munchkin Land. Then in Anne's world, it was very gritty but stripped down, so we didn't need a lot of money or visual effects to tell that story because the audience was so, I think, surprised to see Anne in that context. And then in Matt's world, we have this completely crazy idea that made no sense in the context of what had been established, which was that human beings were empathizing with the Ishveni in ways that just defied logic. And that, of course, was a very inexpensive visual effect, so to speak. So by coming up with ideas that serviced the story that didn't all require visual effects, we were able to kind of strike a balance.
No, I want to ask about Tom, which I'm amazed that he hasn't had a nervous breakdown. And I know he's probably too busy to even think about it, but I was originally going to ask what's been his biggest challenge this year, but I don't even know how you could rank it. How has he maintained his calm and not had a meltdown?
The meltdown is coming. Well, David and I had a lot of interesting conversations in the off-season about what kind of leader Tom should be this year. And last year was a huge leap from history professor to president of the new United States. And he did a lot of speechifying. There was a lot of leadership through words. And we felt that this season would be a lot more effective if we explored leadership through symbology. The idea that you could create this persona of the ghost that would be more inspirational to the members of the prison camp than anything he could do individually. I thought it was a really kind of effective tool to show the power of propaganda, both positive and negative. And once everybody else adopted that ghost persona in the prison riot scene, you got a sense of how infectious it could be, how everybody was sort of thirsting for an opportunity to come into their own and to be a leader in a sense. So I think that answers your question. It's coming. He hasn't really had an opportunity to, I think once the family gets back together and it feels like you can let your guard down is when that kind of catharsis comes.
And speaking of emotionally challenging seasons, Dan has had a tough one, especially seeing Gene go in such a horrific way. How is he handling this? How is he holding up? I mean, he's showing a little more visible signs than Tom is, but he's still there. What's going on?
Well, I think the second Mass has meant so much to him for so long that it's just embedded in him. And when Matt came up and hugged him at the end of that tragic thing, somehow his responsibility kicked in, he remembered it, and he was able to keep going. Second Mass, it's kind of like this show's in its 5th season now, and our final season. I wanted to say, I was wondering, because everybody's saying, yeah, we're glad to finally get a conclusion. I'm thinking, hey, doesn't anybody want to keep fighting aliens forever?
In syndication, yes.
I thought everybody wanted to keep going forever. I do.
All right, next I'll break the mood a little bit away from death and despair to romance. Drew and Sarah, am I sensing a love triangle going on?
Sensing something.
What's that been like? Especially because you guys were separated for the first half of the season, but I have a feeling it's going to build some more. What's your take on this whole love triangle going on?
I think, speaking for all three of us involved in the triangle, when we first heard about that from David, we were all pretty anxious as to how was this going to be pulled off, the logistics behind it. I guess we hadn't really fully understood that we were going to be split up the way we are. But it really made us all buckle down and come up with our motives behind these things that we'll be doing these weeks to come. And for me, it was one of the more special things we got to do on the show, just because we had to really pay so much attention to what we were doing to make sure that it had a good payoff. Because from week to week, even within the episode, you could be pulling for this part of the triangle or the bin side, and it's ever changing and evolving. I think this room itself would be split up with which way you would want it to go as it unfolds.
Would it? All those in favor of Ben and Maggie? That's not split.
No, it's been a challenging season, but I agree with Drew. It's been a great one in terms of having to dig deep and really understand who each of our characters are. When we got each episode, I know that I shed a few tears. And the cool thing is that we've been working together for so long that we were able to talk to each other. I was leaning on Connor and leaning on Drew and saying, like, I'm terrified. We need to make sure that this is totally justified. And, what are you guys doing? What's your intention? Who have your characters become since we separated? Why would this happen? It really forced us to do our work and take the story seriously, and also, take care of the goodness of each of the characters involved, because it's touchy. I think it's edgier almost to go into this kind of drama than just on the battlefield.
I sit at home and watch the episodes and see this little flirtation happening with her and Ben. I go, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa.
It certainly made me uncomfortable too.
Everyone's joking and saying that Max is next.
There's your season 5 storyline right there.
Did you say joking?
Max, what about your storyline? You were away from everyone in this group for the first few episodes, and it was really kind of a chilling environment that he was in. What was that like for you?
I loved it. It was something different. I really like going on the battlefield with you guys and hanging out. But I think Matt kind of got a little bit of a rush, almost too much of a rush of being a leader, and it failed miserably because he got captured and then had to be bailed up by his dad. But yeah, it was really fun, and of course, Desiree Ross playing Mira. Oh, I had so much fun with her, on and off set, we went, just run around Vancouver and have good times. Friends, just friends. Yeah, no. Is that it?
You go.
Is it?
Okay, I gotta say more? Okay. But yeah, I think it's kind of, it's hard for Matt to come back to Weaver and Tom in this kind of survivalistic nature. Like, he doesn't want to kill the bunny. He's having a hard time figuring out how to actually survive because he's still a kid. But he'll figure it out.
Scarlett. Hi. We're going to get more into Lexi a little later, because you've got some explaining to do. But
Just a little.
First off, because we, the audience, do not know how much we can trust her, how much do you think Lexi really knows about what's going on all around her with her overlord and all that?
Personally, I think from her point of view, she is obviously emotionally involved with each Benny, because she's obviously just really said that the overlord is her father also. So there's that emotional attachment, as well as her still trying to have loyalty to her human family. So really, I think there's a sense, she's very naive because she's this baby in this young woman's body. But yeah, I think that, I don't know, I think she doesn't know too much. I think she's being led down a road that she thinks is right, and she 100% believes in it. But I think everyone would be surprised to see what happens.
And also, we're not for sure. Is this trinity of humanish Benny and I guess Bone, is that like a real thing? Can that actually work? I think that's sort of an interesting point.
Yeah, she's constantly going through this conflict of trying to convince everyone that that everyone can trust her. That's what she's trying to do. And honestly, would you trust her? I personally would, so no.
Show of hands, who trusts Lexi?
Like
again, split right down the middle.
So, Doug, we know that the bone is still out there, but Cochise has been taking a break from them and helping his friends in the second mass. How much of a risk is he taking with his own people by not being there with them 100% and by working with the second mass?
I think that Cochise is having his rebellious teenage years right now. That's what I think. It's like, yeah, like Lexi. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my dad and the mothership flew off to take care of business elsewhere in the universe, and I stayed behind like, no, I'm gonna stay with my new friends. Because I have grown quite a kinship and love for these humans that are different than any other indigenous species we've ever tried to liberate before. They're different, and I think that's what the show really, that's the crux of the show. It's the human spirit and how it comes alive in times of crisis and cares for itself. And that's all beautiful storyline that Cochise is seeing for the first time through these alien eyes. So I did want to stay behind with my small reconnaissance team to keep an eye on them, to report back to the mothership whenever they're answering, which is not right now, by the way. And also, by the way, did you all know that Scarlett was British until now? You didn't, did you? Right? No, her American accent is flawless. I know. I wanted to put that in there. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so we're going to take a break from the questions right now and show you a short clip from this coming Sunday's episode. I think you're going to find it very interesting. There's a old familiar face we might see in there. Coming Sunday's episode, and that is just one of many challenging scenes that Anne has. So I don't want to spoil it, but it must have been very intense to film, and we learn more about Anne from before her time with the second mass. What is it like to learn so much about the character? I mean, I don't know how much producers might have told you before the show even started, but to learn so much about her and to go through all this in season 4.
I was so happy that I actually got to have a flashback, because I think Anne was one of those characters that you never really understood what her life was like before the invasion, and I was so thrilled to have a flashback. You see my son, I think I can say that, you see my son and the life briefly that I had before, and also I'm having memory recall of what happened with Lexi, because it's a mystery to Anne what happened. A lot of that has been blocked out. She was, I guess, sort of, she was in stasis. She was not totally conscious, and I'm sure, like all of you, she wants to know why her child has grown exponentially. And this was so great for me because it was really an emotional episode. Jonathan Frakes directed it, and it was he's so great. I love him. Oh my God, I love him. And it was great. I just got to. There was more layers. I got to dig deeper, and you know, you got to see the psyche behind Anne, and it was probably my favorite episode to shoot.
Sarah, Maggie's storyline isn't just about which Mason boy she's going to wind up with. But it's been an interesting season for her because she's not been a warrior, she's been almost a diplomat. So that's a big change. When you found out that this was going to be your character's storyline, what was your reaction, and how did you compare to when it played out with the scripts and filming?
Well, I was excited at the prospect of working with actors I don't normally get to work with. Drew. My life on Falling Skies has been Drew, which I'm so grateful for. I love him so much. But it was great to feel Maggie in a world where she really had to be in touch with who she'd become on this journey of learning how to trust life through this love relationship. So I think it made sense to reveal where she's at in her human journey, which is one of, great listening and curiosity, and I think she's tired of fighting. So it was nice to show that color, and that she, even though she's a fighter and has a fighting spirit, she really does want, on some level, to believe the lie, and she allowed herself to be deluded and drink the Kool-Aid, and I, so that was quite humbling for me to play. I was very, very uncomfortable taking Maggie into that place because she's badass, and that was awkward. But it was cool when Ben woke up and gave her a reality check, and she was like, "Yeah, I know exactly where my guns are, and let's get to the bottom of this." So I'm excited about who she's become and where she's going. And the second half is gnarly, you guys. I don't know. Keep me posted on where you're at with it, because it was a wild ride.
TNT solicited some questions from social media that I was going to put out there. I would say this first one would be for David and Doug. It's from Anna Svedeva. And she asks, will we hear more about the Voln culture and history as the season progresses?
As this season progresses,
Or as any season progresses, I guess.
well, season 5 is a David Icke question. I'd love to hear it.
Can make up quickly. The Voms, the Vom have a certain culture and method of dealing with one another as family and as co-warriors, and they have a larger MO as it relates to the human endeavor, much of which gets explored in season 5. I felt it was important in season 4 to, as Noah was pointing out earlier, remove that crutch and take away that sort of security blanket from the second mass, because the Volm are so powerful at a certain point they can begin to function as a sort of deus ex machina answer to every problem, right? So we want to take that away from our heroes, but then of course in season 5, when they return, and they do, begin to explore a deeper rationale behind what motivates them to do any of this.
Right. There's a bigger story out there, right, between the Ishveni and the Volm. We have history that goes way before this Earth problem ever started. So I think hopefully in season 5 they'll tie that all back together and explain some things. Good. Okay.
I guess so now.
I'm satisfied.
Doug, I think this is a good time for you to get to work on that fan fiction you've always been wanting to.
Oh, yeah, exactly. My love interest with myself. Because I play every Volm on the show, right?
And a similar question, this one from John Martini. He wants to know, will there be more alien species introduced in the coming episodes or next season?
Well, certainly there'll be new variations on existing species. I think one of the things that was well established by my predecessors before I joined the show was that the Ishveni are very involved and very, immersed just as a culture in genetics, DNA, the idea of altering, the idea of harnessing, the idea of adapting and corrupting, mutating. This is a terrifying idea. I think one of the reasons it resonates so emotionally and readily in a dramatic sense is that it does feel realistic. It does feel like it's sort of just a kissing cousin away from where we are in real life. And so we pursue that and continue on with that great notion put together by, as I say, my predecessors in ways that hopefully will scare the shit out of you.
One person wants to take a dump.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I got a text message from Ryan Robbins, who plays Tector, and he wants me to say hi to Comic-Con. I'll be for him. That's about it.
And what about, we had that scene with the two overlords chatting up.
Yes.
When are we going to learn more about what's going on there?
Me?
Yeah, you're on. David.
Well, it seems that, like any enemy, we want to learn more about them. We don't want them just be faceless, or we don't want them to be cartoons, of course. We want to believe that they have their own point of view. Maybe a point of view we might uncomfortably empathize with at a certain point. In order to explore that, we want to visit their world, and we want to connect with their world. So in season 4, we get a taste of that. And in so doing, we might learn that these characters are not of one mind. They're not just a hive-like, simplistic being, but they might have differences with one another. They might have feelings about one another. They might have jealousies, and that those might get in the way of their agenda. And how, if we were to discover that, might we take advantage of that? So in season 5, we'll pursue that even further. But one of the things I hope the audience will respond to in season 4 is simply the introduction of that idea, that our enemies are multidimensional and therefore more formidable.
Okay, we have another clip from this Sunday's episode, and I think it will speak for itself. I gotta say, I cannot be the only one who would love to watch Hope and Lourdes fight it out. Okay, Scarlett, you're up. What is going on? What did we just see?
Why are you crazy?
Why? I don't know what I'm allowed to say, what I'm not allowed to say. David, like, what am I allowed to say?
She's turning into a butterfly.
What did you say? Okay, so, well, it's so complicated. Well, she's really complex for a start. I mean, here, she's going to go through a change. What do I call it, Moon?
Your period.
No.
She's only a year old in the show.
Thank you. She's a child.
Moon had a Bloody Mary before she came on.
So did. You're just jealous you didn't have one too.
No, it's cool. I think with Lexi, she's constantly changing, and this is the beginning of, I think, quite a drastic physical and mental change for her. I think for the start of the season, she didn't really know how to necessarily control her powers, as we've just seen in the last episode. I mean, she almost killed her mum. But she didn't mean to do it. She loves her. She's just like a teenager, and teenage tantrums are just on a completely different level. And yeah, so after this transformation, not change, she, I think it's fair to say that she gets more of a grip on it, and she kind of steps into her own.
And if I could say, I think with Lexi, there's a juxtaposition of her being so young and yet being given all these powers that she doesn't quite understand. I think she thinks she understands them and she wields them, but I actually think she feels quite vulnerable and confused, and we're all confused because on one hand, she's so powerful and she can, you know, choke us out, but she didn't last episode, she did that to me, but she has all these powers, and she seems so wise, but she really is only a year old, so she is this contradiction, this paradox. She's half alien, and we're all trying to figure out where her alliances lie. So I think it's a confusing character because she's two different people. She's a young child, but she's also this very advanced, evolved alien-ish.
Thank you.
Is that good? Okay.
Okay, after this next question, we're going to open up to audience questions. So I see a microphone here, so if you want to ask, start lining up now. Something else that plays out in this episode is the challenge of being a father and being a leader. So for Noah and for Will, because it's an interesting dynamic when they debate this. What is that challenge? They both had to deal with this throughout the series, but in this episode, how do they separate? Where does being a father end and being a leader begin, or vice versa?
You seem like you want it.
I think, well, obviously Weaver feels a certain amount of things in his heart about Lexi as someone who makes him think of Jeannie. And I think he really takes that on. And perhaps becomes one of the biggest proponents of Lexi because of that. That's what happens.
I don't want to speak for you, but we talk a lot about this when, off camera, that this idea of Will's character and mine doing a cross trajectory from where we began. That Tom in the beginning was the humanist and Weaver was the militarist. And gradually over the course of the last few seasons, he's become a lot more heart-driven and Tom's been a lot more guarded and got a lot tougher in his decision-making process. And so this particular episode is a wonderful contrast between a man who's just lost a daughter that he feels very, very close to, and a man who's reunited with a daughter that he doesn't know at all, and feels a certain obligation to feel a familial tie to. But how could he possibly, given that she was a baby, then she was a 6-year-old, now she's a grown woman, she may be meeting with the enemy, she may have power, she may be a security risk, and yet she's my daughter. And it's really, I think, a lovely scene, the way that Will played it, especially where he opens Tom's eyes up a little bit to some of the things that he's lost in terms of compassion and in terms of the meaning of family that Tom sort of had to put away for a while.
Cool. All right, let's hear from the audience. Just say your name before you ask the question.
Is this on? Okay. My name is Doug.
Hi, Doug.
Hey, guys. Cool name, Doug.
Yeah, you should hang out.
Of course. I've been watching since the beginning. I didn't know that this next season was the last season. Makes me sad. Wish it could go on for 5, 10 more seasons. Come on. And I didn't have a question. I just wanted to thank you guys for so awesome. It's such a great show. And,
You may have noticed that Colin Cunningham is not here, so our ambassador that thanks you all right off the bat is not here. Thank you in return. You guys have been such a loyal, dedicated audience that the thing that we're most excited about going back and doing is crafting an ending that honors your commitment to the show and that really wraps up the narrative in a really satisfying way for us creatively and for you entertainingly. So thank you.
Sorry, it's not made for short people. Hi, I'm Vanessa. I'm from New Zealand. I just also want to, I have a question, but I also want to thank you guys for this amazing show. It's very rare to find an alien sci-fi show that's really good and lasts more than 1 or 2 seasons. So it's good. I'm glad you guys even though it's just 5, it's too good. My question is for the whole cast. Seeing as the final season is coming up, is there anything you for your character want to tackle emotionally or physically, or you personally just want to do?
I'll start with that. Absolutely. I've always sort of secretly hoped, and we've talked about this a little bit, maybe where the character ends up, that the perfect logical conclusion for Tom Mason would be to go from a student of history, a chronicler of history, to being a living participant in making history. And then the final act would be, once, assuming the aliens do leave the planet, and we rebuild this world, that he would have a place at that table and be one of the next founding fathers. That seems most appropriate.
I'm actually gonna steal what Scarlett said earlier. We were doing interviews together. It's just why don't they kill us off? I think it's just about wrapping it up. Why are we so interesting? Why don't you just take us out? Mine's basic. Just wanting to know what the reason is. Why have we been through all this? What the purpose is? And just seeing closure to that. Sorry, Scarlett.
That's okay.
I want there to be a lot more action, but I also want Weaver to have to deal with losing his mask a little bit and maybe have one more chance at love.
Oh, she said Maggie was available. No, she's not. One of my favorite things about being on a show is that, everything we're saying here is what you would hope to happen or you would be curious as to have it happen. But I really enjoy just getting the scripts from these guys who write for us and just bring it to life. It's almost a puzzle because sometimes you get the script and you'll absolutely love what you get to do in that episode, and you just show up and you do it and you go home and you feel good. And sometimes you get things that you have a little harder time wrapping your brain around, and you have to pick through it and figure out how you're going to make that real to yourself. And that's the part of it that I really find enjoyable. As far as where I'd like to see it go, I don't know what's going to happen with this triangle. So either I'll have my woman back, or I'm going to run off in the woods and be the guy who has his shirt off and wears a bear cape. Saves these guys.
Do we have a show of hands?
Taking notes, David?
I just do what Matt tells me to.
Oh man, we all have to have an answer for this. Okay. It's really tough for me playing Maggie to not want her to find some peace and true love. I think at heart, Maggie really wants the world to be a better place and for everyone to feel safe and like they can trust their neighbor. So, I don't know, maybe we'll see her completely peace out.
I like what's going on with Matt. I like that he's not a normal kid. That he's thrown into not normal kid situations, like, camps where they torture you and stuff. So I like that. I just want to keep doing what we're doing, and whatever David Icke and everyone else comes up with, I'm just totally on board.
Just the same as what I was talking to Moon about earlier. I just think for the characters just to have answers to, questions that have been running throughout all the seasons. Why did they come here? What do they want with us? What do they want with us? So just to get some answers to important questions. But for Lexi, I think what will be important for her is to build her relationships with the people who matter most to her, so that's her family and friends.
Well, since Cochise was born into war, he's known nothing but battle since the day he was a little baby foal. It's kind of a cute image, isn't it? Back when I was E.T. It was a Spielberg show, right? I would like to see Cochise at the end of all this. I would like to see the Ashveni finally defeated once and for all. And with peace in the universe, he decides that he has a heart-to-heart with his dad, Wastak Sha'ab, and decides to stay here on Earth with his new human friends and use his intelligence not for battle, but he's going to move to Atlanta, Georgia, and become the head of programming at TNT.
Thank you.
Okay, hi, my name is Jamie, and my question is for Drew. Unfortunately, my friend couldn't make it, and she asked for me to say hi to you for her. And so, there's that. And where do you see your career taking you after Falling Skies? Like, what direction do you want it to take you?
Oh, just as long as I keep working. I go home and just get the shivers thinking about that. Being on this show is the first series I've ever been on. And it has been an amazing playground to get to go to and learn from these guys. And I feel like there's not enough classes you could go to be able to be working at honing your craft as much as I've been able to on this show. So I really have no idea what I would want to do next. There's an allure of movies. It's fantastic. But then when you're on a TV show, you get this character that gets to keep bringing back season after season and refining. And there's something that's great about that too. So really, as long as I'm working, I'm pretty happy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, this is a question for all the cast members. I asked Drew a couple weeks ago regarding favorite set memories, and then you and Sarah also answered. But for the others, what's your favorite set memory?
Like behind the scenes kind of stuff?
Yeah, your favorite moments on set.
I loved when I had the baby. That was fun, huh? Because I was pregnant. I was actually pregnant. and then I was having the baby, and I was so scared I was going to push and something bad was going to happen. That was my habit.
There was a scene that Moon and I shot last year in the Strange Brew episode where our characters meet in a coffee shop and Tom doesn't know why this woman's been, it's sort of out, you guys all saw that episode, you know what I'm talking about. Moon, because she was pregnant, she had to finish shooting in October. So we shot her side of that scene in October. And I had to be clean shaven, so we had a photo double play me over the shoulder, and I told him how to move, and I did my lines from a pillar around the corner. And then 5 months later, we shot my side of the scene in a coffee shop with a body double for Moon, who was back in LA with her baby, while the script supervisor read her lines back to me. And I watched that show, and you can't tell, and to me that's like...
I think for me, there's lots of them, but I think for me it was one night we were standing out and it was supposed to be an alien spaceship landing like we've never seen before, and they were blowing dirt and mud in our faces, and the director was yelling over a loudspeaker, couldn't hear what he was saying. And Moon knew I liked Kristen Wiig. And so she put on, when we had a break, Kristen Wiig, you gotta see it, it's the funniest thing in the world. Kristen Wiig and Christopher Walken, a surprise birthday party. And it made it so that I could get through the night.
I have never heard Will laugh like that. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I think my favorite on-set or at work moments happen after the fact, because I can't see very well my Cochise makeup mask. So when I go to the social media later and I see that Drew Roy has put another video up of me trying to eat lunch. Or when our character, John DeSantis, who plays Shaq, the new home character who's taller than I am even, he was sitting in the set chair, bless his heart, on one of those long night shoots, kind of doing this. Drew captured all of it on
What'd you get?
It was the chicken. I like the chicken. You didn't see it very well, and I was very disappointed when I watched the episode. But when we meet those strangers, there's a couple guys there, and they have chicken. And I just remember really, really, really liking that chicken.
I wasn't expecting that.
Seriously, and they had a spit bucket, but for the first 5 takes, I didn't use it. Because I was the character was supposed to be starving, so I shovel it into my mouth, and I did.
Boone, Seishan, and I think Sarah at one point as well, we were going to make up a dance. Do you remember that?
Yes. I'm so happy you remember.
And we were in Chinatown, and I'm in my weird white robe, and we're trying to practice doing this dance. I can't remember it. What was the song? I can't remember the song.
But I really don't remember what dance we were doing. What dance were we doing? We were all going to plan to do a dance, and then we were going to invite Doug.
Yes!
We were going to do it at the rap party, but we were too freaking tired to ever pull this together. But what was the dance? I don't know what the song was. Okay. We were all
We got the energy. We got the energy.
That was it! That was actually with Maxim when he was. That was first season.
That was good.
That was. But he remembered it. That's great. I don't know what the song was.
So many memories.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Ryan. I've been watching since the first episode. I watched it at first because conceptually it was similar to a video game project I was working on, and then I really just fell in love with the show, and I've been there ever since. So really appreciate what you guys do. My question is that in season 4, it definitely seems like Lexi is becoming kind of like a religious deity, and I'm just wondering what the debate has been like internally. Obviously, it's, this world is filled with a lot of strife, and what's your commentary on religion through this season, and what the debates were like behind the scenes for how far to take this storyline?
There were not a tremendous amount of debates. There was certainly a lot of discussion about the idea that, of course, during moments of great strife and despair, we tend to look to religion. We tend to reach for it as a solace, for answers, or because we find it legitimate spiritual growth in it. So we thought there were all kinds of sides of that prism to explore with what Lexi is sort of found herself immersed in. And we always liked the idea that even if she was wrong, it didn't mean that her followers were. There was a message behind what she was preaching that had value. And if it became corrupted by virtue of her association with the Ishveni, the hard part would be that we couldn't just take her message and flush it down the toilet because it had some legitimacy to it. And I think that irony works for the season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have time for 2 more questions.
Hi, my name is Caitlin. My question is for the whole cast. I want to know something specific you want to see your characters do before the end of the series, or before they die, whichever comes first. It happens on the show. Like something very specific, like Anne has a normal baby, or Maggie gets married, or something like that.
Well, the only one who survives the season is Noah, so you may want to take this one.
I'd like to get another crack at riding a horse, because I never knew how to ride a horse. And I think the second time I was ever on one, they filmed it, and I think I got by on it, but there was a scene, I think it was 2 seasons ago, that we're all cruising along, well, I guess it was last season, and Noah's in the lead, and I've got to gallop up next to him and deliver my lines. So the first time I kind of like splutter up to him. The second time I kick him a little harder and I splutter up a little better. And this third time I'm going for broke. I just kick him real hard and take off. I feel like I'm just galloping, the wind's flying through my hair. I get up to him, I deliver the line, pretty amazingly, I do feel. And I go to the monitors and I watch it, and the horse barely moved. From a slow walk to a little faster walk.
Okay, in the interest, unless someone has a really good response they want to say, in the interest of, because we've got some other stuff we want to show you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Serena. I watched it from the beginning. You guys are awesome. And my question is for David, and I just want to say, Doug, even though we don't ever see you in anything that you do, you are awesome and keep it up. We had Rebel Skitters, and then we didn't really see them anymore. Are we going to see Rebel Ishveni? Because the 2 separate, like, are they going to break off and they're going to maybe help the humans because of the daughter, or no?
I think what we're going to see is that there are more sides to the Ishveni than we might have predicted, and that the reason why they started any of this mess in the first place is far more personal and idiosyncratic than we may have possibly imagined. So in that respect, I think we're going to see different shades of the enemy than we would have expected. Rebels, probably not.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we can take your question. But that's got to be the last one, because we got some good stuff we want to show you.
My question is for Maxim. What is your favorite scene that you did this season?
And what's your name?
Wyatt?
Wyatt.
Okay, Wyatt. I think my favorite scene this season,
Kissing scene?
I can think of one.
I don't eat chicken, so I have to go with the kissing scene. Yeah. It was a lot of fun, and it's funny because we had tried to practice before. And she kind of laughed. It was embarrassing, but no, it worked out pretty well.
What's coming up for the rest of the season?